Vital's B Practice podcast is proudly sponsored by Maxxis, Burgtec, and Industry 9. As most of you know, tires play a huge part in deciding if you make it down a section of trail and control or end up bonsaiing to the bottom on your head. Tires are not the place to cut corners, and Maxxis offers a massive range of models to meet the needs of any rider. They've built their name through racing at the highest levels of the sport, and you can visit your local shop or favorite online retailer to get the same tread patterns and compounds used by the fastest racers in the world. And if it were up to me, you can't go wrong with an ASCII up front and a DHR2 in the rear. Make sure to head to maxxis.com for more. With the tagline Labor of Love, Burgtec isn't shy about the countless hours they've invested in developing components that they feel offer riders a true technical advantage. Based in the UK and born out of a passion for mountain biking and racing, Burgtec produces a ton of trick parts, from bars, stems, and grips to anodized axles, shock hardware, and saddles. The cockpit of choice for the Santa Cruz Syndicate and many other riders, make sure to check out Burgtec the next time you want to give your bike some deserving love. Designed, tested, machined, anodized, and hand-built by fellow mountain bikers in Asheville, North Carolina, Industry 9 wheels and hubs have become synonymous with quality and durability. I don't know if there is a noise as iconic as the buzz of an Industry 9 hub. They offer wheels for every budget and riding discipline, from dirt jumping to gravel riding or e-biking, plus you can get crazy with customized hub and individual spoke colors. So if you've been dying to build that Rasa-themed bike or some sweet rainbow wheels, Industry 9 has got you covered. Make sure to head to industry9.com to learn more.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Vital MTB's B Practice podcast, presented by Maxxis, Industry 9, and Burgtec. I'm Jason Schroeder, as always, joined by Tanner Stevens and Dakotah Norton. How are you guys doing today?
Dak's driving.
I say, where is the crew right now?
I'm in Bend, Oregon. Beautiful Bend, Oregon. Coming to you live.
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Dang. Look at us.
Starbucks. Outside of a Starbucks, sitting in my car.
Poaching Wi-Fi?
Yes, I am a trucker now. This is what I do.
Oh,
I mean, you have the look down.
he looks like
Dude.
Kevin Windham.
All I
Wow.
need is a Marlboro.
That's true.
Dude,
Bud
I'll
Light.
take the K-Dub. Honestly, I'll take it. I'm about to get me a couple Planet Fitnesses and get to getting.
That's right.
The K-Dub reference is accurate and definitely a compliment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. Wait, so take us through your travel schedule between you getting done in Val di Sole and then now you're in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Sunday morning, we left at 7 a.m., drove to the airport, flew to America 9 hours to miss my flight, get deleted in Chicago for 24 hours. We flew out on Monday morning at 2 o'clock after we had arrived on Sunday at 4 o'clock. And yeah, flew back, got home about 5 o'clock last night, left this morning at 5:30 to drive to Michigan to go get my dog and see my grandparents. I haven't seen my grandparents all winter with like racing and training and stuff. So it was like we had like a couple days where I was going to get to take it easy. So shooting up there just to see my family before nationals next week.
Nice.
That's sweet.
Trucking.
That is some classic road warrior type stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Can't say I
I
miss
feel-
doing that.
feel it. No.
Well, Jason, you're about to be on the road for like 24 hours. So
Yeah, it's true. Well, my plans are never definite, but yeah, I got to drive. Lauren's up in Tahoe, so I'm going to leave San Diego at some point this week. Probably go to Tahoe for a few days and ride / Reno. And then originally I was going to go up to the Northwest Tune-Up in Bellingham, and I'm sort of on the edge about doing that now, but regardless, we'll slowly make our way north towards Whistler for Crankwork. So my hope is to like kind of bang out some other editorial stuff, this podcast, and then be able to actually go ride like other places. Like SoCal's been the same for a while now, and our trails are overgrown and everything's just kind of blown out from winter. I am craving like proper riding. And I had I asked for Rocky Mountain's new Slayer to test, like while I'm at Crankworks. I'm like, this is perfect. I'll get like an enduro bike, just rally this thing for a week, get all my testing done, chalk it up, a week bike review. Sounds perfect to me. And I opened the box when it arrived, and they sent me an aluminum like base mid-tier downhill bike build. Which is like an epic plot twist, and I'm hyped on it. Because now I have a downhill bike for Whistler, but it's like, a $4,800 bike. So that'll be fun. Because I don't have a bike right now. Like, I don't have a personal bike. All I have is a Transitions Relay, their e-bike. You can like pull the battery out, and I was like, I guess I can rally that, but like, I don't know. It's still a little heavier for just like ripping park laps. But dude, I haven't ridden a downhill bike since Mountain Creek last year for our downhill bike test sessions. So,
and before
you're gonna remember how good downhill bikes are.
I've never forgotten how good downhill bikes are. I just forget how cool it is to have terrain that makes it worthwhile having one.
Dude, we got double.
We rode downhill bikes at Tsteps,
and
it was a great
Don't
time.
remind me. There's a whole crew of racers that have come out of SoCal, like from a few years ago, of like our generation, and I'm always blown away that we put in the energy to make it happen. There's still a group of riders doing that, but like Austin Dooley and Dante Silva and like all those kids end up going to like where you are, Dak, and riding and training quite a bit now, which was not the case like growing up. You just shuttled Teds, you got your 45-second laps in and called it good. I'm ready for Val di Sole.
I had one track in Oakland, California.
Yeah, I was gonna say I guess you got Santa Cruz, but it's a drive,
Yeah, it's like almost 2 hours away.
And shuttling Santa Cruz is not it.
No. Santa Cruz is like, it's too good. It's not gonna make you better. It's
true.
It's too good.
Well, it's smooth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your bike feels good no matter what. You can just pump that thing full, just put as much air in everything. Tires, fork, shock, you just put air in everything.
All of it.
Helium in it. You start floating.
That's actually a good way to pull this back on track a little bit. Talking about Val di Sole today. A lot to get into. Exciting track, provided good racing. Bike setup seemed crazy. We'll get into how your weekend went, Dakotah, but getting into our Industry 9 Buzz report. What's that? Yeah, we can not talk about it too. Yeah. But getting into our Industry 9 Buzz report, where we talk about things that happen kind of outside the tape. Let's start it off with Nuke Proof, and I believe Atherton Bikes and maybe somebody else had weights strapped to the bottom of their down tube near their bottom bracket, which I'm imagining has to do with like helping settle the bike and keep it more planted. But like, what's your thought on that, Dakotah?
Yeah, I think most of those weights are around a pound. And it seems to be that the majority of riders that are on a 38 and a half pound bike seem to want to get it closer to 40, which is quite interesting. Atherton, Nuke Proof, who else? There was a couple other people. More people are running weights than you would think. And my bike, I think, weighs somewhere around 42 pounds, roughly, which is interesting because I'm definitely on the high side of things. But I think Amari's even heavier than I am, where the majority of the dudes that are on a 38-pound bike, Eddie was telling me that they did the same weight test on the majority of the EWS bikes, and with a tube and a tool, most of the enduro bikes were 38 pounds. So I would, and usually you ride an enduro bike and the thing skids around and has no traction. So I don't find it like unreasonable that people want to be closer to 40. I know Aaron really likes 38, and that's kind of like his number he wants is like a light, snappy bike, and that helps like the first split. But with that being said, maybe Val di Sole, some of the rougher tracks, I definitely see the benefit of having a bike that's maybe a little more planted, especially, if you can have a bike that's lighter and then control where you're putting the weight, that's really important.
That's interesting. Yeah, I watched that video Eddie put out on EWS bikes or EDR bikes, whatever that means.
EDM bikes.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't surprised that they were as heavy as they were, but I have to imagine that general consumers maybe are set back a little bit by that, because people get pretty caught up on weight. You know, most everybody rides trail enduro bikes, and like people shoot for low 30s or around 30 for a lot of their daily driver type bikes. But you know, you get on an e-bike or a lightweight e-bike and you're like, dang, a little bit extra weight's pretty sweet, especially when it's down low and centered. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the track a little bit, but we'll get into more your section for the Maxxis make or break section. But I want to talk about all the changes that were done to Val di Sole this year. They did a lot of maintenance. They added a ton of dirt to the track, and I think a lot of it's in reaction to people's response last year to the track probably being too tired and too worn out. But is that what downhill needs? And did it make for a good racetrack, as somebody who was actually there? Or is like another solution maybe to, in Val di Sole's case, move the track over 30 feet into like the B zone where maybe it hasn't been raced before?
They did do quite a bit of that, honestly.
Okay.
Which was interesting to see. I think they did run it to the side, put a lot more bus stops in it. So I think the sections that were there were actually a bit faster because they were less rough than previous years, and it made for a really inconsistent race surface, just because you would hit these like foot deep dust patches and just lose the wheels. And
that was from the fill?
That was from the fill.
Yeah.
So I think the sections that they did get packed in well and got rain were awesome, but the sections that they filled dirt in and didn't get packed in were definitely difficult, but just so inconsistent that it made it hard to push. Like I had a kind of a couple silly crashes in practice the first day. Like it was doing good, got to the speed limit of the track, I felt like, and then just would get just a millimeter offline. It would just suck the front wheel out from underneath me. And that's what happened in you know, I posted a clip on my Instagram, me hitting a tree. I just like jumped into what looked like to be like where no one was riding, and it was, you know, I thought it was like solid ground, and it was just a foot deep of dust. Just lost both wheels, and it would happen so fast. So it made it hard to ride fast the first day, just because you would be all good and then you would just be flipping through the air, which definitely made it challenging. And then the rain came down. I thought with the rain we got, the track would have been maybe more what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost like fresh cut, raw, muddy, but it ended up just like the sections that the rain was able to penetrate through the trees were all the sections where it was hard pack. So it just ended up getting really slippery and then staying dusty, as you guys saw in the race. So yeah, it just made for a really inconsistent condition to race on, and it made it super hard with tire choice. And but I think it was still like a good race. I would like to see the track moved over into the B zone more and just use more fresh sections of track, which I think they did a pretty good job of this year at Val di Sole. And especially when they like run, you have like years of like the track is eroded in a direction, and then they run it like across it. It makes for like big compressions and bottom outs, and I think makes for like good racing. So I think they did a good happy medium. It just with their weather at the rain, it never really got a very good job to like pack it all in.
Yeah.
I think
I was gonna say, as a viewer, it looked like they did a good job controlling the speed, like compared to past years. Like watching that run of like Aaron, like that run looks like out of control fast. Like
the 2012 one,
the 2012 run of Aaron. But now it seems as if they were able to control the speed by adding those bus stops, but the duff and the like fill dirt seem like kind of a mistake.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why. I mean, it looked like a lot of work to do, but they maybe did it a little too late. You know, like it didn't pack in as much as maybe it probably could have. Or I'm sure if you go to Val di Sole in a month from now, after they get some more summer rain on it, I bet it'll be much different and more packed in. I mean, anytime they could have added dirt and compacted it and everything, and then you send that many riders down it, it's still going to get tilled up.
Yeah, it's like close to like 350 riders or something, like or 300 some riders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had grass growing on it, so I had been there for a while. It's just when you add fresh dirt and then you send that many riders down it, it's just there's no way. Like, it's not going to hold up. And I still think it made for a good racetrack. It was definitely it was a World Cup. It was challenging conditions. Like, what I remember a World Cup being where you're like, dang, it is just like straight up really hard to ride fast. And that's what I remember, like, as like a privateer, thinking of the World Cups. And now that I'm, we're racing the same venues year after year, and the venues aren't new to me anymore. And it's like, I come back and it's just like crappy bike park corners. And it's like, oh, this is not really what I'm trying to do. Where I was like, oh, Val di Sole never really seems to disappoint. Like, it is challenging no matter what they do. And I think that comes from the grade of the hill, one, but two, just how gnarly that track is. No matter if they add dirt to it and make it smooth, it's still gnarly.
Yeah. It seems it seemed like they added a lot of rock as well. Like, they added a lot of man-made rock gardens, which honestly seemed really gnarly. The one out in the open, that kind of had some slabs in it,
like lily pad section.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one looked exceptionally awful with the new dirt because it got a lot more moisture on it. It looked like there wasn't much coverage, and then the dirt got pulled onto those slabs, and then there was just so many mixed surfaces.
That section, and then the off-camber waterfall sort of section, where there's like 3 compressions, I think.
To the left, that one.
Yeah,
that was way better.
Yeah,
that sucked before. Like, sorry, that is a part of the track that sucked. It was not awesome.
Yeah, that looked really gnarly.
Confirmed, gnarly. Well, with a lot of talk about Discovery wanting to straighten and shorten tracks and try to get them to like a certain time limit in the future. After the first 2 rounds, I think people are talking a lot more about the tracks that were being raced, and I think Val di Sole kind of pulled us all back to that like raw, gnarly, long downhill track, and I thought it was great. Like, and I think that I just kind of wonder if like maybe Val di Sole needs to be like the blueprint of what a good World Cup track looks like. Like the racing was exciting, the track was challenging, but there was also slow and awkward sections, and there was a lot to actually separate people, which you see in the times. There's bigger differentials separating the field, and it just, I don't know, it just makes it exciting where somebody like, even watching Jackson Goldstone's winning run, his GoPro run, there's lines he takes that are unique and different. He's not just truly riding the main line faster, which is kind of what Leo Gang felt like, or Leo Gang always feels like. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought it was really refreshing and kind of like pulled my interest back in to watching downhill.
Should we jump on the old Maxxis make or break section after mentioning Jackson's GoPro?
Can we touch on 3 more things from this Buzz report real quick? They're quick ones.
All right.
Can you hear the drone behind you in your runs? Like from like the live feed drone?
I don't know, man. I wasn't racing.
You have raced. Come on.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the drone is there.
What's that?
I don't know the drone is there.
Another question on top of that is, do they ask for consent for the drone? Okay.
Negative.
Right.
Not that I know.
That thing looks close in some shots, but also they'll have a camera showing the rider with the drone behind it. It's like, and then also at this race, after like the big step down where LA Jackson crashed a number of years ago, and then it goes like really fast and braking bumps. It was real dusty. the drone would stop there, and then when it come to a stop, you could like see the dust rising. And I was like, dang, I wonder if that thing's like kicking up a roost the whole way down.
Dude, it was dusty there too. It's like weird when it stops and then the camera goes up, but they can't cut it quick enough. And then when then they start the broadcast or the cameras again. It's like so weird with that transition. Cut that thing earlier.
Yeah, they're working on it. We're not gonna. We're done. Go listen to everybody. Go listen to our first podcast if you want to hear us kind of complain / discuss the new format in broadcasting.
One thing on that is they need a new colorist. That feed is so green.
Well,
their white balance is off.
Bad. I agree. It's very, very neon lime. But was I seeing things, or are they not painting rocks red in the track anymore, but they're painting them green?
Yeah, there was maybe some of that.
Because there's pink ones or whatever.
Okay. So, because there was one section where I thought there was like a course marker in the track because it was something painted in parallel with the track. And then at some point there, either a GoPro run or something, I realized it was like the edge of a rock showing, but it was painted green, like the color of UCI downhill now. I thought that was interesting. I feel like forever I remember it being red or pink.
The world
pink.
needs
It's the pink chalk.
Mm.
It's like the chalk based.
I wonder what I'm remembering. I feel like maybe Monsanto actually painted rocks. I know what you're talking about too, but maybe I'm thinking of something different. Regardless, shit's green now.
Even the color of the feed's green.
It's very green. All right, the last two things before we can get into discussing the track a bit more. Reece Wilson was back after his ankle, leg, knee injury earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. Barely missed out qualifying in 61st, which was a bummer, but super cool to see him back. He seems like he's got a rad headspace kind of always when it comes to racing, so it's refreshing having him around. Kind of never talked about him the first 2 rounds being on the broadcast, but he's also really good at that as well. Really well spoken. I would rather see him with the helmet on racing though. Mm-hmm. Joe Breeden blowing his hand off in the bottom corner. I figured we'd just touch on this now because we probably won't talk about it for racing stuff. Do you know what happened there, Dak? Did he just thought he was home free and decided to just go real
crowd a wave?
Yeah. Get it for the fans? Do old Max Morgan check the tire pressure?
Dude, he said he was just braking and then it left the chat. Like, he didn't even know it happened. And then he said he got it back up on the bar and he had thought he saved it and then hit the soft stuff and just was putting it in the cheap seats.
Man, he got very lucky.
Missed the rear brake after the whoops and just sent her out.
Oh, yeah, because he has moto brakes.
Moto Euro brake setup.
Yeah.
Dude,
man.
You
tell him if he would have just had his brakes set up correctly, he could have ridden that thing out.
Dude.
I mean, we know the Terps are hooking up, so.
Terps were chirping. But I'm just glad he didn't hit the blue tape that's invisible when you're riding. Like, when you're the dude riding and you go through the yellow tape, the blue tape is not. He could have been our first victim to getting pulled off the bike by the blue tape, but he somehow made it through unscathed.
Is the blue tape the second barrier that like creates the B zone? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's but it's like blue or black, and it's invisible at speed.
Okay,
so you cannot see it.
Is it the same material?
The taller ping pong net.
The taller ping pong net. Yes.
Okay.
You gotta like dip and dive if you want to get off the track at speed.
Dude, that was scary because he was like, I thought he was going out the front door. Head first.
Yeah, he almost jumped over the front real quick with the quickness.
It was like we were at the top. I was warming up, and the mechanic's like, "Yeah, he's doing good. Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, 44 seconds back. What happened?" I'm like, Joe. And then he's like, "Hey, you want to see the video?" I'm like, "What?" And showed me that. I was like, "Oh my, dude." No thanks.
Was that in semifinals?
Yeah, that was in the semi.
That also, when you watch, there's a lot of people almost doing the same thing of like going too far right into that corner.
Mm-hmm. Well, people were going huge. I'm assuming that the
meters.
distance markers are in meters, I'm pretty sure.
It's like 75 feet.
Dude, yeah, they're going like 60 feet on average, it seemed.
Yeah, because it was 20 meters was like the average where people would land, between 20 and 25.
Nope.
Yeah.
If I'm making it to there, I am brake checking. Are you kidding me? You think I'm going to be able to hold up off of a 60-foot jump? No. Mm-mm.
Oh.
Mm-mm. On my one set of wheels I had for the weekend, that probably are on their last, like, you know,
And your brake pads that you've been
they
riding.
just got done detensioning completely in the section before.
With the brake pads that you've had on since you got the bike and built it up in January.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even know why they make brake pads where you can take them out. You never have to replace them. All right. Moving on. Last little thing I have from the Industry 9 Bows report. There's really no anything to discuss here, but in the Win TV post race, Ronan Dunne said he drinks 6 Red Bulls on race day, and I just thought that was the most hilarious thing I'd ever heard. Like legit, like drink. Like he said that on qualifying day he had 7, and he like went beyond his threshold, so he kept it to like 6 on race day. And I've never really like listened to many interviews with him, and he's hilarious.
He's funny, dude.
I'm like,
He's
where
really
are you
funny.
from?
He lives on a farm. He says he doesn't get hurt when he crashes because he drinks so much milk.
I believed it.
Yeah. Dude, that's the kid that used to run around with a shotgun, right? Around town. He had like a little go-kart and a shotgun or something.
Hard to say. The weight he's got on the bottom of his bottom bracket, he said he just found it on the farm and zip tied it on.
Shut up.
I swear to God. He's like, yeah, I just found it off the fence on the farm and just tossed it under the BB. It goes good.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh.
Hey, lead goes good.
He's like, I'm gonna need that back. He's like, that goes back on something at the farm. All right. Now we can move on to the Maxxis make or break section. Dak, hit us with the section you think was crucial to this week's race.
Jackson winning. He won.
What?
And he did this savage line. And it wasn't even savage. I mean, maybe everybody else did it and I just wasn't getting the memo or something. But he, underneath the gondola, underneath the lift, in the classic black snake section, rode all that. He made a right-hand corner and a left-hand corner, and he went up onto the rock wall, hit the berm at the bottom, and then rode the high line on the bus stop into the flat open corner before where we were gapping over the road. And I don't think anybody else did that. I think that was the make or break section because that's what made him win the race. I mean, obviously there's a variety of factors why he was shredding, but I wouldn't even have thought of to have went there. Like, it seems that every time I watch one of Jackson's GoPros, he does something that I just never think of. And it makes me like question what I'm doing actually a bit. It's like, what? I like looked at that line. I was like, there's no way he'd ever go there. And he goes there. He wins the race.
What
that was the Maxxis make or break section for me.
Wait,
you're not following. You're not following.
You described like 3 minutes of track there. I was trying to figure out where we were stopping.
Bridge.
It's not
the bridge where everybody opens their hands. There's Dakotah Norton's demise corner.
We got the dick corner.
Stop it. You stop it right now. There's the corner where I got stuck in the tape.
Yep,
turns right. That either. Goes all the way down to the bottom of that hill. And then there's a right-hand berm, and it goes back into the woods.
Yeah, right-hand berm, and then it kind of does like a little chicane into like the woods.
Yeah,
and then it does like a tight left.
Oh.
Yeah, before the
and he went really high.
He went really high, the whole way. It opened that corner, which would have been crazy fast for exit speed, which it's not a lot of exit speed. But what I think was really interesting, he set it up 2 corners before. So he got onto the rock wall ride that we used to have to hit to make the corner at the bottom that nobody was hitting. And then he went all the way down to the berm, hit the berm where everybody else was skipping. And where everybody else was riding the slippery, flat hard pack, he went berm, and then set up across and rode the full high there.
And it looked like, and because in that next left that he was outside of, it looked like the inside had like a rock you would have to go over.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you'd kind of drop off the rock. It was flat, and then you'd have to make the left-hand corner there, and you would have to pedal. And it was probably the most low-speed corner on the track.
Interesting.
So
you know what's funny is I was just watching his GoPro before we started this, and literally I stopped it like right after that because we hopped on. But in that section, I was like, dang, he hit this really well. I wonder why. Because in the feed where the camera is set up, your riders are basically riding away from the camera, and then you kind of see them turning left through the trees, and it looked super awkward. Like pretty much everybody looked like they got stood up. But in his GoPro, I was like, damn, he railed this. That had to have been half a second. It's interesting because I wonder what, like I'm on Roots and Rain right now, and he was fastest at the 2nd, 4th, and 5th sector, and he was 4th at the 1st and 3rd. I'm wondering what sector that's in, if he was actually
I believe it would be
there.
Maybe in 2 or 3, because 1 ended before the Flat Rock Garden. So I would think that it would have been pretty close to the end of 2.
Yeah.
Or if not early 3. But it's hard to say. But I just thought that was like maybe that might not have won him the race. Maybe it wasn't any faster. But I just thought that was really interesting. What to bring up is maybe that one section didn't play a huge role in the entire race. But what the point is of this is Jackson has been so good with finding these out of the box lines that have been finding him speed at every event. Not to mention how good his bike fit looks. Not even or how stiff his bike is. That allows it. Like I don't know if it's that his bike is stiff or that he's light, but it definitely allows him to do things that nobody else is doing at the moment. Nobody else is riding like that just because his bike doesn't use suspension travel. And his bars are so high and his frame is so long, which is he looks like he's on a 450.
He has that Bernard Kerr on the old bike style, like just standing up in the middle.
Yeah, very.
And like
he floats the sections really well. Like, I mean, Val di Sole is got to be one of the chunkiest tracks. It probably is. Like Fort William's close, but it's flatter. And watching Jackson practice and in his race run, it's like he looks like he's riding a pump track almost, like in the way he finds things to
his
pump
timing.
And then to, exactly. Like it's exactly, he's riding like a rhythm down the whole track where like probably the best contrast was Thibaut Deprello's run, where Thibaut's style is much more like put my elbows as wide as they can go. And like, maybe he's closing his eyes and just holding on, like there's much less finesse. It's like two ways to the same end. But like, I think that's, like Jackson, clearly the way he rides is super efficient. I mean, he's such a small, like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, he's so young and he's smaller, and it kind of blows me away the way that he can just like hold on through things. But then like his bike fit, the stiffness of his bike, he seems to be able to just manage things pretty
Which
easily.
has been so interesting to me because I'm constantly like, oh, Loic is so much stronger than me. Like, I need to be stronger. And maybe Jackson is pound for pound stronger than me, or maybe his body or his strength to weight ratio is better than mine. I don't know. It's hard to say anything on that. Like, I don't really know anything about the kid, but his peak strength, I always thought that peak strength would win a World Cup, but maybe that's not necessarily the case. Like, he's always on so much about, he's like a kid that truly loves to ride his bike. And when I watch him ride, he just rides all the time. He's never not riding. And the way he rides his bike the way his bike fits in his riding style, I think it's really interesting. He must ride a ton, and I think it's really interesting to see how comfortable he is with a bike that's proportionally so much larger than him, which is like he throws it around like a BMX bike. When I've always got on a larger bike, it's always felt like I've struggled to maneuver it, but maybe he just rides so much in which his bike is, it's just normal to him. Like
I think he just has a really high level of like natural ability that no amount of strength or anything will kind of ever make up for. Like I always am drawing comparisons in my mind watching him ride to Jet Lawrence right now in Supercross and motocross, because you see photos of either of them like with their shirt off and they're like, you would never pick them out as like an elite athlete, which is not to like diss on them or anything, but like they're like kids, right? Like they just look like 18, 19-year-old kids. And but the way they ride, to me, I just think the way Jackson rides is just efficient. I think that's like what comes to mind for me. Like he's not wasting energy. He's obviously super talented, and the way he reads the track is incredibly impressive. But then he's just able to ride stuff and maybe doesn't need the strength. Like he just is putting the energy and the things together at the right moments that just make it easier. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if you talk to him, he'd be like, and you listen to some of his interviews, he's like, that was a super loose run. And I like was kind of barely holding on to it. And I'm glad I did. Like I think that's downhill racing in a nutshell right now. There's like so many people that can win. It's just whoever kind of holds on to it. But yeah, exactly. We'll probably keep talking about Jackson once we start covering racing stuff. But one thing, looking at splits right now, he was the fastest in the last minute of the track by like almost a second, it looks like. Maybe a little bit less than that, a little over half a second. The bottom part of the track, because I'm assuming you're getting quite tired by then, it looked like it played a factor as well. And there wasn't maybe as much line choice. It looked like it was a bit more about linking up corners and stuff, but it also looked awkward. Like it looked kind of greasy in spots, and I don't know. Did you watch his run down there? Was there anything down there that he seemed to do that was impressive? He did hit the Sam Hill corner, and the speed he carried out of that was like crazy high, like visibly faster than everybody else.
His transition speed all the way down. He never like from when you hit the dusty right into the left in the corner with the catch net that has always been plagued people. His transitionary speed was so fast. Like you've seen a lot of dudes kind of hang up. He like went over the new roller, hit the left good, hit the right good, linked it up really well. The transition speed off the wall where I crashed at Worlds, and then off the kind of the stump drop on the inside, he went super deep, didn't check up for the left-hander, used all of the exit, almost was in the tree just because he hit that compression so hard. So it just looked like his transition speeds were so fast all the way to the finish line.
Yeah, he's not hanging up on stuff like other riders. Like when he breaks in it for a corner, it doesn't seem as if he's ever on the brakes in the corner, because he's like his energy is still pushing him out of the corner, and he's not like hanging up like where you see some riders like stall out in corners, and then you're like can't get back up to speed, so they've just lost all their momentum for the rest of the next like 3 sections.
This one's something that's really interesting to me too, like talking about this race in particular. Like I've been listening to the like Adam Cianzarillo podcast, like Plugged In, and he talks a lot of like performance anxiety and like fear of failure and that kind of stuff. It just seems like as you get closer to the bottom, a lot of the older riders are maybe like, okay, let's just get it to the bottom, like it's a good run, where Jackson has absolutely no fear of coming up short. The only thing he cares about is winning. He knows he's capable of winning and is willing to crash trying or win. And that's what I see in the bottom of the track. There's no thought of World Cup overall. There's just the only thought is absolutely want to win a World Cup. And there's nothing else in his head when I see like the videos of him riding at the bottom of the track. He's like pushing all the way to the finish line.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I think it was in his post-race interview on the live feed, said something to the effect of like, well, we're going into a break now, so I figure there's nothing to lose. And like, I think he's getting, or maybe he's got his appendix taken out in the last 48 hours, like he was like, well, I'm going into a gap, like might as well send it. And I'm like, that is like the youth thinking, where like a month seems like a lot of time. He's looking at the future and he's like, I got nothing going on for like 5 weeks. So in 5 weeks from now, I'll be a whole different person. I'll just do whatever right now.
Go regrow a tail. I'm like a lizard if I crash. I'll be good.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Well, do we want to let's talk a little about your bike setup, Dak, and we'll kind of go through your weekend. You kind of mentioned earlier that you were having issues with like your bike being too soft. Is that what you were texting us about originally? And then you mentioned tire choice was super tough. Like, take us through your bike setup.
Dude, there is no setup. That's the problem. We're just winging it. Like, I just find it so interesting how good my bike felt in the USA and how well I had it working at Windrock just to show up to the World Cups. And like, yeah, we talked about the bike being soft at the first 2 rounds. And I think you've seen me do well at Val di Sole last year, but Val di Sole was the last race of the year last year. And I had like so much testing and so much development through the race season. And we're looking at like Lenzerheide, I did really well because the conditions stayed consistent. Leogang, I got wet in the middle of the week, couldn't set the bike up, couldn't kind of develop it at the race, and on the fly, got smoked. To go to Val di Sole, the weather was like I was running spikes the first day, didn't really have the right tire with enough side knob support other than a spike. So I was just like running essentially like cut spikes, which are like a cut dirty Dan or like a shorty. And and it was hard pack. So we didn't really have the tire we needed, if I'm being honest, and struggled with the tire, struggled with the setup. Bike was overall soft, tried to make it stiffer, went up in spring, then had too light of a rebound stack. So I couldn't make my rebound slow enough. And it was like, heated up. It was like 75, 80 degrees for semifinals. It had been cold all morning, slippery all morning. And when I got up to speed, the bike just did not work at all. And I couldn't even ride it. And it was just, I'm looking back, hindsight, should have maybe just like tried to chill and cruise it to the bottom, because I think I probably could have top 30'd on it. But once you get like, do your warm up and get pumped up and get in the zone, and you're like, I'm riding a bucking Bronco. Like, there's no way I can even ride this thing. I can't make it turn. And then you get to the bottom, it just was like a train wreck. I ended up bottoming the bike out in qualifying, got spit over the bars, and then couldn't make the bike work. And our bike is awesome. Like, our bike is really good. I just do not have enough testing and don't have like the comfort. Like, I feel like my fitness is good. My strength is good. I've done everything right, but trying to develop a bike in Europe in 3 rounds with the weather and not really having enough testing overseas has just really been very frustrating and difficult. So I should be better than to, blame the bike, and I should be able to ride it, but I just need more time to have Val di Sole so easy. Debatably the gnarliest track of the season so early in the season was just like, dude, winning circles all weekend. And couldn't get it done. Didn't get the job done, dude.
I feel like the reality too is that you were going to be puzzling regardless, and you could have right off the bat gone a different direction, then maybe it worked out well, and the weekend would have been different. And like, that's just how it goes with setting up a bike, a track that's changing a bunch. Obviously, you guys are on a bike that you're still currently developing. It's kind of is what it is. It's the roll of the dice that is setting up a bike and developing it,
I mean, I made a bet on race day, and I could have just rode my previous setup slower, but I felt like in qualifying I let Tebow go and rode down and caught him. Like, I flipped the bars, hands were covered in dust, like sitting on the side of the track, let him go, gave him time, and then came into the finish corral behind him. So it's like, I had the speed all weekend. I could have done well. And maybe it's me just not having the maturity in terms of just like sucking it up and riding. Like, I knew I could do well at Val di Sole. I knew I liked Val di Sole, and I wanted to push. I went for it in qualifying to try to get some points. dude, exploded myself, full tomahawk the bike. And then in semis, just wanted to like get some points, get up there, but didn't feel like I was pushing, just missed my breaking point. Rear wheel was off the ground, couldn't get it stopped, and that was all she wrote. So, yeah, looking forward to try to just get the bike, just get the comfort, because our bike is so good. Like, it works really well, and I would like to show that. It's just, I'm sitting on the plane coming home going, where do I even go to set this thing up in America? Like, if I wanted to fly somewhere this weekend, where could I even fly to? I don't even know. Like, I thought about driving a snowshoe to ride for the weekend, but it's not the same as the World Cup, you know, because you don't have those like steep. No. Yeah, everyone feels like a superhero. Every bike feels good. Everyone can ride in Whistler.
Come out to North Star. We got some nice tracks.
Yeah,
nice and blown out.
But it's like even like Windrock in the summer is pretty hard pack and slippery, and we don't have like, we have sustained grade, but we do not have a rough track there. That's not even like it's a great place to ride. It's a great place to train, but it is not even a tenth of anything we race on the World Cup. Like, we don't have any steps. We don't have any big compressions.
What about looking at, since now there's a gap, what about looking at going to Fort William before Worlds and trying to ride there? And using that as like your, like, you know, even if it was one day, I'm sure that the knowledge you would gain for your setup is going to be beneficial when the weekend comes, you know?
Yeah, I think Fort William is still like a bit different than anywhere else just because it's so flat. It's flat and chundery. You're trying to build speed there. And there are a couple of sections that you get that like go deep into the travel and then get bucked into a corner feeling. But compared to Val di Sole, it's not. Like, I feel like I could manage my setup a lot better at Fort William. So I'm currently planning, I'm going to race the U.S. Nationals, and then I'm flying straight back to France to go to Morzine and ride.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
For 2 weeks.
Where would you go?
Yeah, I was between Duffy, going to Duffy just to be on the same area as Fort William, roughly. Same part of the world, but I think I'm just going to, for me, the Union has a house there I can stay at, and I don't need anyone. Like, I can ride to the lift. I don't need a shuttle. I don't need a car. I can walk to the gym. I can ride downhill, and I can test on my own and get the job done. So currently that's my plan, because I was like sitting here going, what do I even do? Like, I should have tried to change my flight and rode Val di Sole for 2 days after, but hindsight's 2020 on that one. I tried doing that the day after the race a few years ago, and it did not work out well. I couldn't. It was too rough.
Yeah,
I needed rest. So
you mentioned the Val di Sole end of the year last year. By the time you got there, your bike setup was much more evolved and everything. Yeah, developed. Were you not able to just kind of look to that, maybe at least for like a fork setup? Because you mentioned like your fork was bottoming out. Like, how come you didn't just reference your setup from last year?
I think it's just overall like last year I did not like riding my bike. It was so stiff that it made my back hurt. It made my teeth hurt. The thing was just a rod. Like, and it seems that every year, by the time you get like fit and fast and strong, your bike just turns into a rod. But I've been trying to use the damping system more than just like pumping the thing full of air. And I've put so much time and energy into running maybe like a deeper sag setup with more pressure or more rebound rate. And I really enjoy riding my bike and had it working amazing in America. But do I add air? Because I don't really have any more damping left. Like, I'm using it all. So it's like, do I add air? Do I slow down rebound? Do I need my rebound to be more progressive, which is what I'm leaning towards, but also at the same time, I need to add more air pressure and more spring rate. But and that's what I did for race day at the World Cups. I added more spring rate, but wasn't able to make the high speed rebound slow enough. So yeah, I could go back to that setup, but I've done so much time and energy trying to buy grip and trying to make the bike enjoyable to ride, that I'm just like trying to develop myself for the future rather than just going back to putting 100 psi and 7 spacers in the fork and turning the high speed fully closed and riding it, you know? And
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I mean, I could do that. Yes, it could be done. But at the same time, it's not just like getting the bike stiff enough. Like, it's getting the balance is the hard part for me. And I think overall with the length of my frame, as my bars come up, the bike tends to feel a bit short. And I had been trying to maybe get the front center a little longer. And then there's that balance between the fork and the shock. And if you don't quite get it perfect, the front end gets light. And if you're getting pushed over the front because the back is too stiff, then it's hard on your hands, which is what maybe Breeden was having a little bit of, that we've been working on with his rebound rates. But yeah, man, it's just learning and growing and evolving, and as it's a constantly evolving ecosystem, and if you change one thing, it affects everything. So it is a completely different bike. And I think like you take a dude like Bernie that was on the podium last year, how many times, and he hasn't even been on pace this year on the new bike. And I don't just think people like underestimate how long it takes to develop a bike and get comfortable to ride at that pace, because everything has to be perfect to be competitive in the top 10. And you can make it work, but you take a lot of risk. Like, you can ride a bike really fast that's not set up, but at some point in time it's going to bite you. And I want to do it the right way and just build and develop and build speed organically rather than taking an astronomical amount of risk to get the job done.
Sweet. That's some cool insight. Makes sense. I haven't really. I think Bernard maybe.
That's kind of a lot.
That's what the people want to know.
There's Bernard, Matt Walker, British Matt Walker. Like, both of those dudes are kind of in that similar boat with new bike development as well.
Yeah, dude. Matt Walker's won a World Cup overall. And the dude is still developing the bike. And you look at Bernie, he's developing the bike. And I just think, like, the thought of just, like, you slap some settings in it that are relatively right, and then you go out there and go for it. Like, it's the sport is not there right now. Like, these dudes, and it probably looks like on the TV there's 10 dudes riding really fast, and people are like, oh, yeah, go for it, get a podium, get in there. And it's like, dude, these dudes have 500 runs on the timing system. Like, Athertons have been on their bike for 3 years and nothing's changed. And the tires have just gotten better the whole time. So it's like, to be competitive at the level of the sport, like, you can't see it by watching the TV, but these dudes are riding so freaking fast. It's like, I sit on the side of the track and go, wow, like, there's no way I can ride that fast. And it's like, this is mind blowing. And then I do, but like, when you actually see it, like, these dudes go past you, you're just like, I want no part of that. So just the level is really, really high. And the days of like getting close and getting up there, I think, are over. I just think you really have to do your homework, and I'm really looking forward to the break to try to do mine.
Yeah, that makes sense. It definitely, I mean, turns out cutting the finals down to top 30 for elite men has made it incredibly competitive. But I think that's combined with the fact that we were already trending towards just the pinnacle of the sport is getting so competitive. It is insane. You watch the first 3 races, and take this race, for example. Bernard came down kind of earlier before the rain, so he was in the hot seat for a really long time. And I think it might have been Troy was the first person to come down and go fastest. And it was like unbelievable. You're like, how did he go faster? Because nobody could touch Bernard forever. And then, Troy finishes 4th. 3 people go faster than him. It just shows you how insane everybody is getting. Well,
the level's high.
Dude, touching on last thing with bike setup, I mean, Santa Cruz is on a new version of the V10. It looks pretty much production, so I'm not really sure truly how much all those dudes were involved with development or just getting a new bike and then adapting to it. But it seems like Lori and Jackson are doing fine, and Greg is just like tumbling down the hill backwards on it. Like he's. I mean, he'd probably say the same thing, dude. You watch interviews with him, and he's like, he can't seem to figure it out. This weekend, he was back on the pre-production bike. Like,
I think the thing to look at there is Greg is the only one on the 29er.
Oh, okay. Everyone else is mullet.
So I don't know if Greg's bike is the same as the other boys. And the 29 rear wheel is a lot bigger. It could have a lot of effects on the bike. So obviously we've seen him change, and what that reason was, I have no idea. But it's I think that you look at Laza and Jackson, they're a lot lighter than Greg is too. So I mean, I'm sure that he had to have been somewhat happy with it to go, and you know what I mean? But he also had that thumb issue. So he didn't get to ride it as much as the rest of the dudes. So maybe there's some development there that's still going on with Greg, which is quite interesting to look at. I mean, just like anybody, the dudes that have been on the bikes for a long time are doing well. And I think the dude that's been on the newest bike, like Loic, has not had a ton of time on that thing. He's had like a year on it now. Like, well, you would say a year, but he didn't go to it in the middle of last season, just because even if he would have thought it was better or the times were better, like to develop a bike at the World Cup on limited runs while you're trying to figure out where you're going and trying to ride new lines that are gnarly in changing conditions that are changing more rapidly than anything else you could do other than like maybe a motocross outdoor national. It's like, it's just a lot. There's so much to manage that things just get overlooked. And if you can get a good baseline and you have years of like, okay, like I've relatively done this here or I've done this here, you have that knowledge, it helps. But it's just there's so much, like especially now with the first day of practice being 3.5 hours to fit in 6 runs. And if you want to change a shock, or if you want to change crowns, or if you're just changing suspension pressures and spacers and sliding tubes out, raising bars, lowering bars, like there's not any time anymore to do the development at the race. You used to get on track at 11:30 and you were still doing time training at 5:30. You could make changes, and I just think those days are over of being able to change things at the race.
Yeah. It sounds like maybe using Syndicate as that example of just maturity, the different, like what you were talking earlier about, you could go back to your previous setting, or you can stay on this track of like developing where you want to be in the future, and in that time not taking as much risk and trying to be like sustainable about developing your setup. I think that's kind of maybe like the difference between Jackson, Lori, and Greg. Like Jackson and Lori are maybe more eager to just like go out and go fast, where Greg's like, I'm on a new bike, it ain't working out yet, and I'm not gonna like go kill myself to just have a good result this weekend. I'm thinking about like where I can be next year. I mean, at this rate, Greg Menard is going to race forever, so he's got to think about thinking about his 2040 setup right now. He wants that thing to be perfect.
But I would say that there's probably some pressure coming from the fact that Greg wants to win Worlds at Fort William too. So that's got to be creating frustration.
And that bike, long dual 29, looks like kind of a Fort Bill bike. I'm sure he is making his way towards Fort William right now.
He's probably there doing runs right now.
On top of all that, though, Santa Cruz just has like a very defined process of how a bike gets developed.
It's not a super new bike.
No, but they have Kieran. They have like people that do the pre-test before the team even gets it. Where Dakotah seems like over at
Dakotah's all of that.
You guys are an all-in-one. You're the tester, the rider, the racer.
Yes, correct. With that being said, there's a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah.
We get changes made quick. We give feedback. They can quickly make changes, where a company like Specialized is slow. I think that bike, Loic and Finna riding, I think that thing's been around for like 4 or 5 years. Like it's been around. Like they haven't
True.
just like came up with that like
Yeah.
the year before. So I think that there's positives and negatives to that. Like they've rode that, they got to ride that bike and then got it pulled, I think, for almost a year until they were able to actually ride it at the races. And then where we're like, hey, Devin, dude, we need a link, or I need this, or I need that. Like it happens quick. Like we made a ton of changes just since the beginning of the race season, which is a positive of riding for a smaller, intense team like Intense. You know, that you might not get that at somewhere like Giant that's super conservative and slow to make changes, you know? So it can be frustrating in both directions, really. I mean,
yeah, it seems like you just, like you said, just need more testing days.
Need bike time, man. That's it. I just need bike time. And it ain't doing it in the US ain't the one. It just ain't it. It's hard out there in the Alps. You know, hard.
Do you want to talk shit on course tape real quick before we get into the race recap, or are we gonna move on from that?
I don't know. I didn't even know I was in it, honestly.
I don't think the tape had a huge effect.
Listen,
tape of last year. Let's not forget that like old course tape sucked too sometimes.
But you could just rip it.
Yeah, but but Dakota's issue wasn't an. You didn't need it to rip.
Remy Meyer Smith would have had tape issues. The little poles, on the other hand, were a little suspect. But with that being said, the blue netting, the ping pong net, is quite literally the worst. To be fair, I was down there looking up, felt like I was about to climb Mount Everest and try to get back up on the track, thinking, wow, I really messed that up, for lack of better terms.
This time.
I think I was laying there on my knees screaming explicit words at that point in time, just to realize that not only was I not going to qualify, I was stuck in the ping pong net. I was not going anywhere.
Yo, when you rode off, it looked like you looked back at the marshal. Were you saying something?
I think I was just screaming.
No, it wasn't words or anything. It was just screaming.
The F word over and over again.
It is frustrating.
I think what was going on there.
Yeah, not what I wanted to wake up to.
The one corner that you're like, just don't do this. I did that.
It always works
like
that
the
way.
one thing you can run it wide. You can get away with a lot of stuff in a race run and keep going. That wasn't it. You could not get away with that. Nope.
It's tough. I mean, your splits weren't bad. So there's that.
I mean, I got up and rode fast. Dude, in qualifying, I did make the ultimate no-no, though. I pedaled out of the starting gate, hit the shifter twice, came unclipped, and rode my top tube into the first corner. So we were 21st at the first split with the old top tube ride. We were really, really, really on it this week. I brought my A game to Val di Sole.
You, yeah. I mean, looking at some splits you had, you did have a second in qualifying at the fourth split.
Did I?
Not too bad. Yeah, man. Well, we're on Roots and Rain, which gives you time per sector, which I think is a lot more accurate than just giving what place you were at by the time in the where you were going down the track, which is I think how the UCI separates it.
Yeah. Well, the other site used to do that. Remember, they would the top 5 fastest in every split. I thought that was pretty good. I wish we had something like that, because then at least I could have looked at it and been like, you know what, bonehead, why don't you just go ahead and go get the top 10 this weekend and just run her home, you know? You don't have to be a superstar. But there's no time training anymore, so how would we ever know?
Yeah, that's annoying.
You know, the old IFR boys just holding it down, 56th and 57th. Tough.
Someone's got to do it.
Oh, man. That's bad. That hurt.
I would have been hyped on those results, but I feel he beat practice, baby.
Yeah.
Did Breeden beat me?
I think you
No,
beat
you beat
Breeden.
him.
Yeah.
How was that? I wasn't even in. Then I beat him in the semifinal.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you beat him in the semifinal.
Put a hot one on old Big Ball stuck in the net.
Yeah.
Oh well, you know, you'll have that. Yeah, he was like pretty happy with the way he rode. At least he had some positives to take out of it. He was like, yeah, I rode really good. It just didn't happen, and that really sucked. But I rode really good, and I was just like absolutely in the pit, grenading everything. Like,
did you break your sunglasses again?
Nothing was safe. No, I didn't. I broke my chest protector, honestly.
What?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
How'd you do that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't remember.
Just
I don't
full
remember.
Donkey Kong on the chest or what?
I don't remember anything from leaving the finish corral to packing my full rage.
You saw red.
Wasn't proud of it. It was. I nicely set the bike down in the pit, I'd exit the pit, and was behind the semis, and maybe some stuff got thrown and said, but that was it, and then it was over. I had 20 minutes of rage, and then it was done. We moved past it, and now we're a new version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. You're such an adult these days.
I didn't look like it then. Racing, man, it gets to you. Like, it's just like in that moment, it just feels like the world has melted down, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you just want to so badly take back what you've just done, and you just can't. You gotta bask in how much you sucked and how much you threw your. I know every year you said you weren't gonna crash and you weren't gonna throw your overall away, but you know what? You just did it again. That's you now.
There's still hope. I have hope.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, we're gonna reset, come back. Yeah, Fort William's not ready.
Dude, I'm gonna burn.
They don't even know.
They don't know what's coming.
Yeah,
A little bit of testing, a little bit of riding, a little bit of rest and relaxation, and we'll be there, dude. We'll be ready. We'll be ready to go. Unfinished business with me in old Fort William.
There is.
Yeah,
I like that. I'm excited. It'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Should we let's breeze through a little bit of racing recap, because I feel like we've had a fun conversation thus far, and I don't want Dak to have to sleep in Ohio, wherever he is tonight. So I'll kind of breeze through the juniors real quick, because there are some cool things to touch on. In the junior women's field, we had Sacha Ernest, first World Cup. I believe she was at Lenzerheide, but crashed out and never had the chance to race. But young Kiwi racer, her first World Cup, and she comes out and wins by 12 seconds, which I think is crazy. I am not on a team or anything. Like, I don't know how she's just been off everyone's radar. It sounds like she raced BMX for a number of years. So, I was lurking her Instagram, and she looks super good on a bike. Like, very well put together, super good at jumping. I would she could be like a free rider if she wanted to.
The Kiwi, that Reece girl as well.
Reece Van Leuven
is like really good at jumping, right?
Dude, they're both. So I, did my digging on the old gram, and Sacha and Reece have definitely been like going head to head down in New Zealand the last couple of years. Like, they're what's that?
Denenda.
Yeah. Is that what you could? Can you say that for New Zealand? Or are they gonna be pissed that that's like Australian?
They're even further under. They're under the under.
That's true. The down under the under. But yeah, dude, it's cool to see them kind of take their battle from New Zealand to the World Cups. And Reece, we got to give her a shout out, because she had that like gnarly crash in Leo Gang and somehow just comes back and is mostly okay and gets second on the podium, gets back up into third in the overall. Pretty sick.
I had to triple check that it was the same person.
Yeah.
That was letting the bodies hit the floor in Leo Gang, and then just shows up and gets second at Val di Sole.
Dude, it's sick because the women's field for both juniors and elite has been the most evolving, I would say, kind of over the last couple of years. And so, you know, we had Phoebe Gale and who is the other person that just moved up?
Jenna Hastings.
So like they were, you know, the last 2 years, we've been talking about them a ton. We're like so hyped to see them in elites. Now we've got 2 racers again in juniors that are going to be at the same vibe in another 2 years. So it's rad to see. Other standouts, Taylor Osgard and Abby Ronka, both USDH riders in the top 10 with 6th and 8th respectively. It's both of their best results to date. So congrats to them. The overall is Lisa Boladu is still, or I think maybe she moved into first. I'm not positive, but she got a 3rd in Val di Sole. So she's in first. Valentia Rose Sanchez maintained 2nd with a 4th. And then, Reece jumps back up to 3rd after not racing in Leo Gang. Very impressive. Moving on to juniors real quick. Kind of one note. Rick mentioned before the juniors broadcast that last race in Leo Gang that like when it was raining and it was on postponed with racing that like their commentary booth was starting to fill up with water, and that's why the broadcasting just kind of like awkwardly ended, which I thought was, I mean, I appreciate the honesty and it's kind of funny. Anyways, Bodie Kuhn, first place, first junior win. Yes. Yeah. First junior win after getting 2nd at the first 2 rounds, and kind of one of those wins that's been coming. He was kind of under the shadow of Jackson and Jordan last year, and then to kind of ruling the junior field, but he's definitely been building pace. It's sick to see, you know, an up-and-coming Canadian. Honestly, just as big a shout out to fucking Pinkerton.
Dude.
Stinky Pinky, he was on race runs from the first day of practice. The boy was in it to win it, and probably would have if he didn't eat shit, and then somehow gets up and still goes fast and ends up in 2nd, dude. It's crazy.
Dude, his splits.
I want to say he was fastest after he fell, was he not?
He was the next 2 splits after that. He was fastest.
Which is a question I have for you, Dak, because I'm not an elite level racer. Is how do you crash and get up and still go fast? I don't understand that at all, because it just, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like we saw that with Gracie Hemstreet in Elite Women's. She did like the same thing. And I don't know. Yeah. I've never been able to do that. Every time I've crashed in a race run, I'm like 50% of the time I crash again.
Yeah, that's the thought that's going through your head. You're like, I'm going to ride fast to the bottom, but man, I really, really don't want to do this again. Like, this is what you don't want to do. Like, if there's one thing you don't want to do, it's crash twice.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that when I was riding down in qualifying. I was pretty angry, like to say the least. That I was riding pretty fast, and I was like, you know what? You should probably just not crash twice. Like, your hands are covered in dirt, your grips are dirty.
Oh.
Like, you probably, and your fork's all twisted up. You probably shouldn't eat it again. You should probably just cruise.
Oh,
I love that.
I don't know how you do that in a race and get up and go fastest at splits or whatever.
Dude, he just only knows one speed.
Yeah,
balls to the wall fast.
Quite literally. Same with that Chris Hauser kid. He only knows one speed, and it's as fast as he can possibly ride.
Yeah, it was a bummer to see him go down. I'm hopeful he's okay. It seems like he was, but I mean, he qualified 3rd.
Yeah,
was definitely giving her the beans when he went down. Yeah, Pinkerton's definitely going to have a win soon, I hope. And Henry Kiefer, best result with a 3rd after starting the year off with 2-4. So solid junior class right now. It's sick to see. And it's also like, I think maybe having their practice on the first day, and then maybe being a bit more condensed and having to just like go fast right off the bat is just highlighting how insanely quick they all are. And it's been really entertaining. I'm into it.
The thing that Pinkerton said to me is he He said he thought it was easier to ride fast first lap of practice because they've just walked it and it's still so fresh in your head that he felt like he could ride faster because he didn't have to like sleep and then come back to the track overnight.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
Neat. Overall for juniors, as it stands after 3 rounds, Bodie Kuhn first, Henry Kiefer second, Pinky's in third, and then Leo Abea. Yes, that's correct. He's in fourth right now, which is worth giving a shout out because he won Leo Gang in the dry before it rained for everybody. It's cool for him to come back at Val di Sole, get a 5th, kind of back up that wasn't a fluke, and he's sitting pretty sweet in the overall. And then old Hauser's in 5th after the DNF this weekend. So exciting to see how those Groms come back and continue to shred later in the season. All right, elite women's. Because this is running long, I wonder if I can just let's just jump into things that really stand out. Valley, back-to-back wins.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Her bike looks sick.
I was listening to the ending of our previous podcast, and you made the comment that the treks are probably going to be fast. You thought those bikes would work well there, and it definitely proved that. So, dude, it's just rad to see her putting together fast weekends, like fast qualifying semis, finals, because she should have way more wins than she currently has. She's thrown away so many wins, so it's sick to just see her shredding. And she was visibly more aggressive than the other ladies on track. Like, her run definitely stood out.
Yeah, she seems to be building.
Her and Cami looked pretty close, like as far as like intensity goes and pushing and riding. Like, Valley was definitely like more maybe playful on the bike, or like she had the ability to place the bike where she wanted it more than Cami. I think that's the big thing that stands out to me. Like, you watch Marine in the bike has like super fast rebound, and she's kind of just like controlling the speed down the hill, and it doesn't look like Marine really has the ability to like push into things and generate the speed that the two Cami and Valley do. Like, they just like, they're able to push on the bike so hard, where a lot of other girls aren't doing that. They're just kind of like standing, managing, and controlling. And it just, like, Cami's bike looked like there was a lot more feedback into her from the rear end than Valley's. I noticed. Where
it seems like a common theme with those consoles right now. Yeah, which I don't know. And the other person, I thought Gracie Hemstreet was the other rider that stood out as just looking a lot more aggressive compared to everybody else. And dude, she had like a pretty gnarly body slam midway down in her race run, and then got up, same as Pinkerton, had fastest 2 lower splits after her fall. Kind of like a what could have been race for her, but it's rad to see her have her first race in elite that is kind of maybe what we all expected after her junior career. 7 qualifying, 3rd in semifinals.
Preseason, she wasn't going that pace. Like, when she was at Windrock and raced some of the preseason races, she was. I just did not see her riding at this pace at the World Cups, and then she's just stepped it up, which has been pretty impressive. Yeah,
it's super sick. I added up the sectors, not including the one that she had the mistake in, and she was like 0.7 back from Valley. So it would have been really close, and she would have been, Valley won by, how long was it? Like 2.6 seconds. So, Gracie would have been much more in touch than everybody else. Cami in second, maintains the overall without winning a race this year. I thought that was just kind of interesting, maybe showing the power of consistency with adding in semifinals now. And, like when you look at all of the, there's been 9 timed runs now that pay points, and Valley's been consistent too, but she had like a 14th in there somewhere, which was like an 80 points difference, I think, between her and Cami, which is the difference now in the overall. So it is interesting. And then Jess Blewett, 3rd place, first elite podium. Sick weekend for her, kind of between all 3 of those rounds, or 3 races on the weekend. And she didn't wear gloves, so she's super dope. Kiwi skis, no gloves.
Dude, she looked good too. Like,
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, somebody that I definitely didn't really have on my radar. She kind of had a slow first 2 rounds, it seemed, and so, dude, so many good up and coming talents right now in the women's field. Maybe last thing, Tawny had a pretty big slam up top, and I was stoked to see her get up. It looked like she definitely hit her head, and I'm hoping that she's not dealing with any concussion stuff after the year she had last year. Frida didn't. She made it into semis, but chose not to race, which sounded like a mature, smart decision. Just with some post-concussion stuff still. So a bummer, but I hope she's still like in good spirits after having another solid weekend up until then.
She was very sad to make that decision. Very sad.
I'm sure. It's not easy.
She would like ride awesome she could say like, I could ride awesome for 30 seconds and then everything would go blurry.
So that's so gnarly. Yeah.
It's just like the ability, like as you train and get fitter, her brain has to do the same thing. Like her ability to focus, like it takes so much focus to ride Val di Sole, and especially when it's slippery and tough. So her brain just needs more time, and she needs time like to decompress after like that big block of racing too. So slowly but surely.
Yeah. You guys start talking about elite men. I got to pee really bad again. It's what I do in podcasts now. Apparently, I go pee midway through.
Oh,
I don't have the notes open, so Tanner, you got to leave.
Does Tanner have the notes open?
I don't have the notes open.
Oh my god! All right, talk about Jackson more.
Oh
man!
Hey,
did you watch the highlights?
I didn't watch highlights. I watched racing.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
What's in the highlights?
I was low. I don't know. It was just like the kind of top guys there. I was just so salty. I just couldn't watch the race. I went and had a coffee and ate a Magnum bar, and just ignored the fact that everyone was racing and I wasn't. I just was really not happy. It was really hard to watch the race.
A few things that I noticed in the whole racing thing was the Saracen bikes are stink bugging really bad. Yeah, if you watch, and they have a floating brake on it. So I think it's something with the suspension, not brake jack, because they have a floating brake and they're still stink bugging. If you watch, and that's the prototype one. But because the old bike didn't do that, so I thought that was interesting. And then, dude, Thomas's stack, just doing it up. He just going fast again. He was 16th.
He was going fast when I rode behind him at Schladming. I was like, whoa, I need to hold up, man. He's ripping.
I can't believe I put together all these notes and you guys don't fucking look at them.
Well, I'm on a different email, all right? So my whole browser.
Buddy, I'm remote. I'm not even in the office. I'm running off my phone in a parking
You're
spot.
always remote.
Park at.
Do you even own a laptop?
I do. It's dead. Surprise?
Not surprised at all. All right. Let's breeze through some elite racing.
Come on. Get us in there. Let's start.
Let's do it. Where do I want to start? I hate that we have to cover semifinals. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know what's that.
Semifinals don't mean nothing. We're deleting them.
I just don't know what they do mean. They mean point. I mean, Loris won, which I think is noteworthy.
Wait, so
let's just get a top 5. Just hit us with a top 5.
Loris, Jordan, Finn, Jackson, Cole. Does that do anything for you guys?
One question I have is who finished with the most points out of the weekend? Who won their overall for the weekend?
I mean, I can pull it up.
Loris or Jackson?
Give me a second.
I think it's Jackson because Loris finished 5th in the finals. But
yeah,
but Finn also.
Well, and did hold on. Val di Sole Trentino. Oh,
but if you went 2-2 and someone went 1-5, would you win?
That's the math that I haven't done. All right, so looking at elite men, Oh, okay. So
We're losing viewership
wait.
as we speak.
This is getting cut.
People are shutting us off.
This is on the chopping block.
That's it, dude.
See,
We're
I don't
old
really.
news.
So here's when I look at individual standings and the way the overall breaks it down. You have like three numbers for points for each points paying race, and then you have the overall with like in parentheses the number next to it. So Jackson, for example, goes 3-4-1 first with 345 points on the weekend. Oh, this is okay. But then
I have no idea what any of this means.
honestly, I don't know either. It's a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still saying semifinals.
Let's
too
get
much
back-
racing.
Let's get back to real downhill racing. Who did what in the final? Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
The question is, will we have a semifinal at Worlds?
No.
Oh,
Why?
that's a good point.
You're
Probably not.
seeding.
Yeah, we need to have qualifying at Worlds.
Yeah. Come on. We've
mean,
never
dude,
even been to Worlds, and we know this.
It's true. I feel like the only thing noteworthy about semifinals, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to watch it. Like it's just so much more racing to watch, and it's like I want to know who didn't make it in, right?
Yeah.
Like who is a surprise, and like I see Dak doesn't make it in, yeah, bummer. But like Blinky, Matt Walker, Joe,
Yeah.
Brooke, Cade. Dylan Maples was in 36th though, so I got to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that even though you don't make it into semifinals, it's still being epic, just being qualifying in the top 60. You're getting points for it.
Laza. There's a lot of people that weren't in the race that people wanted to watch race. It's not good.
Adam Brayton, Fricks, Tehudo, like
Yeah.
Benzwar.
I think we have to give a big
Laza.
shout out
Dooley.
to Matt Walker, New Zealand Matt Walker.
Pivot Matt
He
Walker.
won Pivot Matt Walker because he won the Enduro the weekend before.
And the weekend, and in Leo Gang, he would have qualified.
No way, he did both.
But he waved to the fans in the section pretty much. Go on his Instagram if you're listening to this. Look at his post. He in the rain has like a bobble and gets stood up in like a corner and just like literally it comes to a stop and like looks at the fans and they all cheer and then he keeps rolling and he for sure would have qualified had he not done that. And
Yeah,
he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Oh my
Anyways,
gosh.
The sickest thing about him at the EDR, sorry, side note, not only he went into the last stage with a 12-second lead and then still proceeded to win the stage, which was pretty sick.
Baller. Yeah.
Got a boy.
No, it is crazy. Kind of already touched on Jackson a bunch. I mean, really, a main takeaway from racing was the rain that did kind of make it interesting in almost two different races in one. Some people definitely got boned by the conditions way harder. And it was impressive, though, like Jackson, Finn, Tebow, Troy, all those dudes came down and went faster when I think for a while there it was thought that Burner was just kind of going to hold on to it. Maybe looking at the podium, Finn gets second. He's getting better every final. He's gone 5th, 4th, 2nd this year. I can't really figure out how he goes so fast with his bars so low. It really is defying physics to me, but he's making it work. I think that bike's making it work a lot too.
Yeah.
And, it was really cool to see 2 Canadians on the podium on Canada Day as well. So kind of, it shows you the impact Stevie Smith had on Canadian racers. And I think we're going to continue to see that for a number of years. Bodie and juniors, they're just going to keep going. Gracie right now in elites. So Tebow, 3rd place, most exciting run of the weekend for sure. Everybody's really hyped up on him taking his hands off on the bridge in that one section. And I just thought that was pointless. I didn't think it. I'm like, what is that? You got arm pump there already? Come on. I don't know. In the broadcast, I'm pretty sure Cedric has like an aneurysm. He's so blown away by it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I was just kind of like, oh, that was for show. That was interesting. I don't know. Anyways, done talking shit on that. Andres Kolb comes back at 6th after winning Leo Gang. Still a solid result. He's still sitting pretty in the overall. I believe in 4th. Troy Brosnan in 4th place. I was super hyped on that.
Yeah.
Troy's been actually putting out pretty good vlogs, if anyone's interested in those, where you get some cool insight into his race weekend. And he's such a veteran of the sport. Like, he's very in tune with where he's at on a track kind of as the weekend's progressing. And it was cool to hear him just be hyped on 4th place, even though, you know, we kind of maybe all expect him to be somebody challenging for wins. So, yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day. It's his 14th season, I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember Troy when he was a junior racing in the elite field, you know, and getting, I think, maybe a podium at one point.
Yeah, he got a podium. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to think about that.
You know, the field, as we've mentioned before, is so deep right now. And, you know, his run is a winning run of a couple of years ago. You know, I think a lot of like the top 10 runs would be winning runs 5 years ago. Loris, 5th place, you know, 1st in the semifinals. I think 5th is still pretty solid for him. I listened to an interview from him somewhere, and it didn't really seem like he was vibing that weekend and was like content with 5th and good points in semifinals. Somebody who definitely was not vibing this weekend was Loic. Loic seems like Val di Sole isn't his place, and then he really wanted to nail that point home this weekend.
Yeah. The win
kind of
TV
surprising.
track walk.
Yeah,
he made that known.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting for sure. And with him finishing 14th and then Jackson winning, he drops to 5th in the overall from 1st, which is a pretty big change up. And it's going to be interesting going like the rest of the year. I think he's going to be up there, you know, if Val di Sole isn't like his best track. Maybe didn't maximize the weekend the best he could have, but he still did decent. So, yeah. What else? You guys are both yawning. You're not even interested in our own podcast.
I was looking at Remy Myersmith and Ronan Dunne. Remy Myersmith, 1st-year elite, and another 1st-year elite. But
what do you think of his run?
10.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, he's loose.
Are you talking about where he debatably went outside the tape?
I'm talking about what he did debatably went outside the tape. That there is no tape
debatably
for him to go outside of.
He like it's. I watched it back, and if
literally
people in the past got
over.
DQ'd for things, he should have been DQ'd. And I think the whole you got to enter where you exit rule, stupidest thing. I'm like, dude, if you blow off the track and you got to climb back up the mountainside, or like, I mean, his case is maybe one of the few times where like where he rode because he made a mistake allowed him to maintain speed. But like, I don't really give a shit, you know, like,
dude,
he made a
I
mistake
definitely
before.
think he went outside of the pole.
He went outside of the pole by like half a tire width, but didn't he make a mistake that caused him to ride the line he did, which was not an ideal line.
So they let it slide?
I mean, he's in the result sheet, like for the overall as well.
This is gonna, as the season, I think this is something that is gonna get pretty dang sketchy as the season goes on.
What?
Because like
drawing
everybody
the line
right
on
now,
stuff like that.
Yeah, because everybody right now is really afraid of getting DQ'd because we don't really know what the question is, and then you see something like that, and you're like, oh well, what the heck? And we've already had someone get DQ'd, like Ethan Craig.
Yeah.
So I think Remy is awesome, all great, like good kid, but it's like, where is the line drawn with this subject?
Yeah,
I'm not
it
trying
back
to make
right
an
now.
example of him. I'm just saying that I looked at it, I slowed it down. I definitely think he went outside of the pole, and it just seems unreasonable that they have no way of really knowing the camera angle, whatever. But to me, it looks like he went out and they did nothing about it. Which, regardless, I don't care if it's him, like Rooney. I don't care if it's me. I just think that it's like, what the heck?
Oh yeah,
like consistency in the rules.
It's because I'm literally watching it right now, but I think if you would have had tape in that section, if it were to be taped, he wouldn't have gone outside. Been in it. He would have been inside the tape because it would have been tree to tree.
But he straight up runs over the pole.
Yeah.
Like it goes between his wheels. And the ruling is both wheels have to be on the left side of the pole.
Yeah. I think they're making gray areas for themselves.
It's just interesting because it seems like in the past they've put their foot down pretty hard when it comes to that rule Bernard, in particular.
Off the blind step down or whatever, the bridge at Liagang.
Yeah, there's been plenty of examples like over the years of ones. Yeah, where like I don't necessarily agree that they're enforcing it, but from a consistency standpoint, it's better just to have it the same across the board, even if the rule doesn't necessarily make sense. And it does keep you from having situations like this where there's a gray area. It's much more definite.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I watched the race Sunday, so a day later, and I saw that and I immediately went to look at the overall standings to see if he got points or not. And he was on the results sheet, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. Like they've definitely UCI's put their foot down for stupider, like out of the tape sort of situations, you know? So yeah. Interesting. I wonder if we will see future things come up because of the new taping or the lack there of tape.
Well, let me tell you, where there's tape, there's really tape. It's really there.
Making sure that stuff ain't going anywhere.
It ain't moving.
Dante blew up his wheel in the rock garden. DNF.
Dude, the memes.
People's chant the memes that the team put out were great. Dude, he was 7th at the first split right before he crashed. Which is I'm super bummed, but like it's rad. It's just I mean, you know, I got love for the local homies, and it's rad to see him up there, even if it didn't go to plan.
Yeah.
What else? Let's talk about Laurie Greenland. He came up right before we started recording. He was second in qualies, and then it sounded like he crashed in the first turn, Dakotah. That's what you were saying, or like up top?
Yeah, he high-sided in the first corner. Semi.
Because he doesn't have that first split.
Yeah, and then he finished 21st. I wonder if he
posted it on his Instagram.
Oh, he did?
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, they didn't even show any of him on the broadcast and semis.
Yeah, dude, he was one of my picks to be up there this weekend, and he definitely just didn't seem to have. I mean, he did have an okay weekend going up until then with his second in qualifying, so can't write it all off. But definitely a bummer. He's somebody that is consistently fast in Val di Sole.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I was gonna say Greg Williamson. This was the first finals he was in, I think, of the year.
Yep. Had a crash at the very bottom, which was a bummer, but definitely rad to see him in there.
And also, there was
huge.
Another thing I want to shout out. Gonzalo, the only privateer in finals.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was on the list for our award that we're going to get into, our Labor of Love award.
Yes, if I had my notes open, I would know that.
You would.
Yeah, who's getting it?
We'll get to it.
Suspense is killing me.
We'll get there. He didn't take it, but only because Wynn is what do you call it, sponsoring him for Andorra, which I believe is like the next World Cup after Worlds. So he's getting love as is deserved.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll move on from Elite, done with racing. Overall standings as they are right now after 3 rounds: Jackson's in first, Finn second, Loris third, Kolb fourth, Loic in fifth. So the stage is set for a fun back half of the season.
Yep.
All right. Oh, wait. Tsteps Style Award. I didn't look up who's winning for Val di Sole right now.
Val di Sole.
Yeah. Wrap it up.
Because
My
Loic-
chicken's waiting for me.
Or we can just we'll cover it next time.
Frida had the sickest kit. I'm just gonna say that. I really fun that she didn't get to race in it because I actually
Let's
did
go.
like Frida's kit a lot. Thought
Breeden.
the two different shades of blue complement each other nicely, and then did it have the pink on it as well? But
I think
yeah,
that was her.
yeah, I don't like the. I will say the FMD kits are a little heinous.
Very pink.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, surprise winner. I got the site to load it real quick. And
Yeah.
Cammy Belange took the win.
I know.
People are, I guess, are into the subtle looks. Interesting. Very, very interesting. She took the win by quite a margin, and Trek Factory Racing was in second, which I thought was a cool kit too.
Yeah,
I didn't like that kit.
Oh,
I think
Alright,
the
keep that to yourself.
shoes really ended that kit, but I think
Yeah.
you got to appreciate the full pajamas. Like,
the matching of everything
yeah,
goes hard. It's not even Worlds, and they're like, "We're Trek. We got the budget."
We got budge. All right,
We
let's
got
get into
budge.
the
Burgtec,
Yeah,
Labor
but-
of Love, our section where we highlight a racer in finals who's on a privateer program of some sort that had a really good round, and we're gonna give him $200 for that. I picked Sacha, the junior women's winner, because
Let's go.
well, when I was watching Win TV, I thought she was going to win it during the interview when Win's privateer program that he has going on. Because in the interview, it's like her and her dad, and they're like, it's just
Yeah.
us, and he's wrenching on the bikes, and like they're over there on their own dime. And I was like, this is what we still need in downhill racing. And yeah, dude. I mean, for her to show up and win by that margin is super impressive. So yeah, man, felt like who was
Pay the entry
what-
fee, baby. We're buying dinner.
That's right, man. It's the least we could try to do. But yeah, shout out to what is it? I don't really know how to say his last name. Bandiera. I don't know how to say his first name.
Shout out to
You guys gonna try? No one's gonna try.
I already tried Gonzalo.
Oh, that sounds perfect to me.
It's got a
He was
little
ripping.
accent thing on the C. So
You know, it's we sound incredibly American right now. Dakotah's just glaring at even trying to say it right now.
It ain't happening.
That ain't happening. But yeah, man, shout out to Sacha. We'll I'll reach out, get you your dough, and excited to see how she hopefully she's going. I mean, she knows she's going to Worlds, but hopefully she's going to more World Cups this year. It's always tough on a program with just pops, you know. Never know what you're going to end up doing. Cool. Round this out with Worlds. That's our next race in like 4 or 5 weeks or whenever it is, beginning of August. Fort Bill. Going to be interesting. Last year was in Leger, which was a sick race with all Frenchies on the podium. I'm interested if, you know, the Brits will show up and lay down.
let's go straight into it. What do we got? Who's our picks?
I'll give you guys mine. I got Lori, Danny, Tebow first, second, third, and then I got Valley, Cammy, Nina. Although I just thought about the fact that Rachel will be there.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go for Rachel, Cammy, Valley, because Rachel winning would be like one of the coolest storylines in downhill in a long time.
All right.
Boom.
I'll go
You guys got?
Rachel, Nina, Marine, Cabaru.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then for men's, I'm going Dak. I think Dak's
No, it
gonna
just gives,
he's
it
gonna
makes
he's,
me feel good.
he's gonna
honestly,
sort
that you
out
just
his
put me
bike.
in there. You put me in there every week, and
He's
you
gonna
have so
sort
much
his
faith
bike
in me.
out.
Even though
Yeah.
right now I'm just not a podium guy, but I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there once again. I'm gonna make that great again.
Yeah, make Dak great again. I'm going Dak, Loic, and Tebow. Yeah,
That's a fair one. We need that butt patch also. Make Dak great again.
yeah.
Just put it on a shirt, sell it at Snowshoe. Make that great again.
Oh,
I need to get our
Actually,
merch line
I don't
going.
need to. I don't need to
Yeah.
remember the things that have happened to me. So you just don't put that on a shirt.
You might not want to be associated with that phrasing or that phrase either. It's not always the
in Snowshoe, you can make good money
in
off
Snowshoe
that.
they would sell out for sure. But
Big Dak energy, baby.
God. I've had it on my list for like 9 months now to start making more vital merch, but I'm like not a designer, but that we need to get a bee practice one going, and those are two very good ideas right there.
Yeah, I want to know who listens. I want to know who is a real supporter of the show. I want to know.
True. That we'll
I'm gonna
do that
make Dak
sticker
merch
packs.
and I'm gonna sell it at Snowshoe. With unbeknownst to Dak.
It'll be a caricature of Dak with an American flag and a Rockstar helmet on. Even though you're not sponsored by Rockstar.
He's going to be sponsored by Rockstar. This is a touchy subject right now, but we're going to get that Rockstar sponsor so then we can have the Colby Raha, Hanny, and Dak edits coming out.
I'm going to have to buy a Husky. Oh, man, that's funny. Hey, that's funny. Okay, so my picks are, who's going to win? Danny's going to be there burning them down. So Danny's going to be in third because he's going to have at least 1,000 runs on the track before anybody shows up. I got Greg Minar in 2. He's got the fire. He's got the 29er. And he's got them long legs. And he's going to be hauling ass. And who's going to win Worlds?
Dak.
No.
Loic. He's going to go Loic.
I'm sorry. I'm a 4th place guy.
That's all Aaron is too.
Watch it. Careful. Tread lightly. Like Bruni's gonna come with the steam. He's gonna have that. He's gonna have that puppy going. Them long legs, just them strong legs. We've heard about these strong legs. They're just gonna be a pedaling at the bottom.
Is he gonna do it in shorts too? Some Lulus?
His pants are invisible. You can. Here's my number one complaint. I would like to put my Race Tech rant of the week in here. If we have, I've seen enough of black
Rockstar
underwear
rant of the
and
week.
white see-through pants.
Yeah.
I'm kind of over the white pants.
I think the whole white thing is so played out. Just stop it.
It's too personal.
There's been some white pants, and I'm not going to say who's running them. Some former world champions, and I've seen too much of what's going on under them pants by both of the former world champions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a bit aggressive. I agree.
Yeah, that's your Rockstar rant of the week.
There you go.
You're terrible.
I love that.
You've
heard of Kid Rock. This is Dak Rock. Rockstar of the week.
Who will be all right? Another question: who will be partying like a rock star after World Champs?
Shoot, hopefully everybody.
I'm gonna say Ronan Dunne.
He's just Red Bull vodkas, nonstop.
Just Red Bulls.
I gotta say, Ronan Dunne is really on the tear at the moment. He's riding really good. Farm weight. He's pulling farm implements, and he is trucking.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I also have another update.
Yeah.
My house is almost done. I came home.
Let's go.
I came home and we had, some friends have helped me out with some small details while I was gone. I'm nearly back to racing full time. I'm putting the tools down and I'm getting back on that bike and we're going to do it.
Dang.
You gonna sell your construction company? Just go back to being a full-time downhill racer?
I think the time has come. I think it's come. I think the time, as much as I just love being a regular old Oliver Springs redneck, I'm coming back, baby. We're coming back, So we got a nice little break here, little week at home, little hang out with my chicken, and then We're ready. We're ready to go.
Hey, happy 4th of July, man. That's just a beautiful message right there.
Yeah, I tell you that.
I tell you what. I tell you what.
Hey.
That's just the American dream.
Man,
Kevin.
All right, it's my mom's birthday, so I'm going to have dinner with her.
All right.
All right.
You go tell mom we say happy birthday.
Yeah, she's got the best birthday. They celebrate it for her every year.
Fireworks and all.
Fireworks and all.
That's right.
Well, yeah, it's 4th of July, so thank you guys for taking the time to chat, boys. And I wanted to throw it out there that maybe we'll try to put one of these together between now and Worlds, just because we got Hardline, and it'd be cool to do. Honestly, dude, nah, but it'd be cool just to do. I want to do another interview one, and we'll keep it USDH because there's quite a few racers between all the classes that have been at the first 3 rounds, and be fun to talk with, Pinky or Dylan Maples or one of these
like
names.
A little catch up of the first block of racing.
Evan Metcalf.
Exactly.
I've
Evan
seen
Metcalf.
He was ripping. He was ripping last weekend.
He was.
Yeah.
So we'll try to do an interview one that can be as short or long as we want. Keep it pretty lax, and maybe do a hardline one as well, because those are entertaining. Cool. But maybe that won't happen. We'll just see everybody after Worlds. You never know. You never know.
Match man, you gotta keep people guessing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be just banging out Dirt Merchant, Boca Vista A-line laps for 2 weeks straight. So please don't message me about us saying like too much on the podcast.
The question is, are you gonna ride Goats Gully?
First lap.
What do you mean? Am I gonna ride Goats Gully?
If you don't ride Goats Gully, I've lost all faith in you.
He's gonna have a downhill bike.
It's true, dude.
Two clamps. Predator too.
Dual clamp. Count them.
You're just gonna remember how good it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like your first time.
It probably will be. It's been a while since I've ridden a downhill bike, and last time I rode it was under the stress of having to plan a whole test, and unfortunately Dennis broke his leg. Yeah, it was. Let's not talk about that.
Baggage.
We're closing this one out. Thank you, everybody, for listening. B Practice Podcast.
Boys are out.
Shout out Maxxis Burgtec Industry 9 for the support. See everybody when we see you next time.
10-4.